like 30 million?
Much higher.
$418 million.
It's like,
Never late.
I could literally pull up the receipt. Gonna be
Gonna
5
be
minutes
5 minutes
late.
late,
Gonna
5
be 10
minutes
minutes late.
Okay.
And you say, hey, Alex, I see this house, and I look, and it says a 1% commission, and I'm going to deter you from that. That makes me a bad agent.
So you have a pretty interesting topic for us today.
I do. Okay, guys, so...
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
We are
episode 3.
episode
Back.
3, baby.
Okay, what did you say? Podcasts don't last until after
Yeah.
episode 7, or they don't go past episode 7?
Most podcasts never make it past episode 7.
We're almost halfway there, guys.
So we're halfway there.
Episode 3?
It's nice to see your guys' faces. This is
Yeah.
episode 3 of Keepin'.
It.
Fresh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jin's got a nice haircut. Jin
thank
was
you very
5 minutes late.
Can
As
show
always.
the camera your curls? They're beautiful. How long did those take?
Like 5 minutes.
Why do you guys think I'm always late?
Because you are.
Because you are always
I'm
late.
never late.
I could literally pull up the receipts of our Slack channel.
Slack-
Gonna be
Gonna
5
be
minutes
5 minutes
late.
late.
Gonna
5
be 10
minutes
minutes
late.
late.
5 minutes late.
All right, I'm going to change
Classic.
that.
Today, 5 minutes
Yeah.
late.
Okay. Well,
You know what? He's got a good haircut. I'll let it slide today.
if we didn't have the proof in the Slack, I would have, really fought you guys on this. But
The receipts
yeah.
are there.
So this is exciting. There's a lot of stuff
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
You know what I like about our podcast? A lot of the conversations are around things that are like doom and gloom, but it doesn't have to be that way.
No, yeah,
No,
we can flip it.
Because change always is happening.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad,
Yep.
but it's just constant. So if we can get behind the fact that life is always changing, and if things are changing, we're alive, that's good.
I love how positive you are all the time. Every time we get into
time,
like
yeah.
a group setting or anything, Jin is the mastermind of mindset everything.
It's the yoga.
It's the Buddha. You said last episode that you were
Yeah.
named Buddha.
Yeah, that was pretty
Client.
bad that I said that. I meant somebody
So,
thought
yeah.
that Buddha said
might not.
me. I don't want to be canceled by an entire subcontinent because I'm so far from a Buddha. Yeah.
God. How you
Yeah.
doing? Good.
I'm good.
Congrats on those
Good.
few sales.
Oh, thank you. Thank
It's
you.
awesome.
I know.
Yep.
Those have been exciting.
It's been good. It's
Yeah.
been good.
Those
Things
are
are picking up.
Yeah, those are the best ones where you literally list something.
Oh yeah, and you get the and you're able to get it done quick.
Yeah.
It's tough because when those don't work out, it kind of screws things up. But
Yeah.
it is nice to have those.
Yeah.
Every
In
now
your back
and then.
pocket. Yeah.
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 You never know when to use that strategy, but I think you executed that really well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was good. I almost wanted to put an offer on it. Those are beautiful properties.
Yeah.
The Guelph one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Guelph one.
What about Niagara?
Nice. Niagara's still sitting. It's a much slower market there.
In there. Yeah.
Things move much slower than the GTA.
Yeah. How have you been, Alex?
I'm good. Just, growing a human.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We let the podcast know.
Oh, yeah. I'm pregnant.
Growing a
Yeah.
human.
Secrets out.
Growing a human.
What's the
Secrets
secret
out.
sauce of growing a healthy?
Trying to get enough sleep and going to bed at like 8:30 if you can.
That's tough.
Not even joking.
Yeah.
Lincoln goes to sleep at 7, and like by 8:30 I'm like, I'm done.
Jeez.
Wow.
Done. Unless I have like an offer presentation or something.
Mm.
Yeah. But other than that, I'm good.
Yeah.
Good. Yep.
So you have a pretty interesting topic for us today.
I do. Okay, guys. So want to start this off by putting a disclaimer out there that we are not lawyers, and this is all about the United States lawsuit. Do you guys know what I'm about to talk about?
Yeah, the NAR settlement.
The NAR settlement,
NAR
right?
Settlement.
So everything we talk about is solely going to be based on the U.S. market and not about the Canadian market. We'll
Yeah.
get there after because this is just a disclaimer.
Yeah.
And let's not try to go political here.
Yeah.
But for our viewers who don't know, I just want to break it down as simple as possible as to what happened in the States. So there was basically a personal injury lawyer. I don't know why it was a personal injury lawyer, and 5 sellers who sued the NAR because the sellers basically said they didn't know that they were paying the buyer's commission, and they thought that the price of the commission was inflated. So they were basically almost coerced to pay the buyer's commission, right? They took them to court and they won. So then a bunch of copycat lawsuits came, and the NAR basically just said, you know what, let's just do all of this all at once. And can you guys guess what the settlement was? Do Do you have an idea?
I know what the number is, so I'm not going to guess here. Do you know?
Do you know?
Oh, I don't know the number. I know the outcome though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know the number.
Yeah, I don't
so
know
let's
the
let
number.
Ian guess.
Yeah. The number of what they were. What is it? What is it? Like 30 million?
Much higher.
Oh, really?
$418 million
Jesus.
was settled. Okay.
Which I don't even think is a lot.
It's not, but there's so many different things that we have to dive into here. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So now in the States, apparently, you can't put what the buyer's commission is going to be on the MLS
Correct.
because what they're saying is that it was deterring agents as to which listing you're bringing
Sure.
your buyers to. But the standard commission, quote unquote, in the States is in and around the 6% mark. I don't know how it works down there if they just say, if an agent will say, listen, Mr. Seller, my commission is 6%, right? And the agent is inflating that. Maybe they're not telling the seller that, hey, it's 6% and 3% is going to the buyer. So maybe these 5 sellers have a valid point. But, you know, just even though we're not talking about Canada, our listing agreement literally says this is the listing commission
Absolutely.
and then X amount is going to the buyers.
Correct.
So we have that conversation, most people, right?
Sure.
Um,
I think
yeah,
that
so let's stop there and give me
business
your opinions.
is done much differently in the United States.
100%, yeah.
So a lot of the things that, you know, they aren't doing out there, we're already doing these things.
Yep.
Like deep in our buyer presentations, we're talking about everything. Deep in our seller presentations, we're already talking about everything. People in the States don't even have buyer presentations.
Yeah.
That's one thing that they're not even, you know, sharing with their clients when they take on a client. But let's say a home here in Toronto was only offering, let's say, 0.5% commission to the cooperating agent.
Yep.
Will agents be showing that property?
Probably not. But the thing with the MLS and like different platforms like Realtor.ca and other platforms that are integrated with the MLS, I don't know if I'm allowed to say those right now, but people can just search online for all the homes, right?
Right.
Oh no, someone's calling me. And that's what makes it hard because if, you know, you're my buyer and you say, hey, Alex, I see this house and I look and it says a 1% commission and I'm going to deter you from that, that makes me a bad agent.
Correct.
Like what?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense in my mind. Like, yes, obviously we all need to pay our bills and you know, buy groceries and live our lives. But if you're going to be a good agent, you're going to get your buyer whatever property fits their needs, right?
And you can always negotiate that, right? Like it's up to you as the agent to be able to negotiate your commission. I would always show the property regardless of what the commission is. But at the end of the day, if you know your client's going to make an offer, there's no harm in trying to get whatever commission with the listing agent.
But also when you're signing a buyer agency agreement, some agents don't break that down either with the part where it's you're going to be paying me X amount of dollars if you go and, you know, buy a home on your own.
Correct.
So if the property is selling and giving you only 1% commission, do you go to your buyer and say, hey, listen, they're only paying me 1%, and based on our agreement, if you buy this house, you would have to then pay me an additional 1% plus HST.
Right. So some people do that. So I've seen it both ways. I feel like most of the people on our team put in the buyer rep as per MLS listing. So they're going to take whatever the listing agent is going to pay them. Whereas some people put, depending on what market they're servicing, they put in a set percentage.
Absolutely.
And I'm not sure if they're explaining it to the buyers or not, that if the commission is different than that, then they're going to have to cover the difference.
You know, it's very interesting because at the end of the day, our clients' needs are always at the very top, way above my own. Like there's things that I should be putting myself first sometimes in my own life, but my buyers and sellers come first.
Yeah.
Right.
They come before my family, they come before my siblings, before my partner, everything. But what I wanted to say was there's been situations where the commission has been less on the listing side. The cooperating commission has been less. And I've outlined in my agreement that the buyer would be paying me the difference. And I haven't gone after my buyers for that. And also there's been situations where my buyer has found something off market, private, through a family friend. And even though it's in my contract that I can be eligible for that 2.5%, I haven't gone after that 2.5%. It's nice that we outline that.
Yep.
It's just some agents go above and beyond. And they won't actually show properties that have 1% commission, 0.5%.
Correct. Yeah, a lot of people
And-
will shy away from those for sure.
And I know a lot of those agents, and they won't admit it, but that's technically we're obliged to show every
Yeah.
property
Yeah.
that's out there.
But now in the States, going back to the settlement, I
Yeah.
believe now a seller doesn't have to offer.
They're not allowed to, I believe, as of July.
I read something, I think it was like 2 days ago, that I think a judge ruled in the favor that now a seller does not have to pay the buyer's commission.
Yeah, like I don't think they're
Right?
allowed to. Okay, so I don't think they're allowed to advertise it on MLS.
They're not allowed
if
to,
they're
yeah.
paying the buyer's commission.
So I pulled it
Buyer's
up.
agent's
Okay.
commission, sorry.
Sellers traditionally have paid commissions for buyers agents. That's
Yep.
how it is. Moving forward, those commissions will be decoupled, meaning that it's going to be negotiated on a transaction by transaction basis.
But-
so
Sorry to interrupt you, but if on their MLS they can't disclose, you're getting
Correct.
2%, how are they going to know? They have to call and then say, what's the commission? But then
Exactly.
that looks bad on the agent. Just bring your buyer, but then you're doing all of his work. What if it's nothing?
That's the thing. So some
Right?
people aren't going to pay some
buyer's
people will say,
commission.
we're not going to pay your buyer's commission.
So this is really going to affect buyers
Yep.
out in the United States, especially first-time home buyers.
Yep.
Could you imagine? They're buying a house. They're basically saving up their deposit. They're going to look for homes, but in the buyer representation agreement, they have outlined that they will be paying the agent, let's say 2.5%.
Yeah.
If the seller's agent isn't giving a commission.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be affecting the buyers, and it might be affecting the sellers as well. If the agent decides to call them and say, hey, are you offering anything? No. Okay. Well, I'm going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because my buyers can't afford to pay me. So I'm going to go where
Yeah.
I can also get paid. It's going to be.
But then what happens if that buyer goes directly to the seller?
I think that's what's going to happen. I think you're going to have more buyers going directly to the listing agent
Yeah.
to purchase properties, which on the flip side, like, okay, as a listing agent, I don't see listing agents like taking their commission lower. Like I think
No.
listing agents are more or less going to chart. You're now doing two jobs. So the commission is more or less going to stay the same, maybe half a point lower.
But as a listing agent, your obligation is to the seller, right? If a buyer is coming to you and they're unrepresented, now flipping back to Canada and Toronto and the new TRESA rules, you have to give that RICO guideline that says this is what's going to happen if you're unrepresented. These are your rights. These are blah, 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 blah. What's going to happen to that unrepresented buyer if the listing agent, in the United States is obviously the best, they want the best for their seller.
Right.
Right?
Let's just break it down. Let's say there's a home that's $800,000.
Okay.
The buyer would be paying a 2.5% commission to you as the agent if you were showing the property. Now, if that buyer goes directly to the seller, what's keeping the seller from, pushing that price all the way up to $850? Now the buyer's paying an extra $20,000, $30,000 on top of the property, thinking that they're saving,
Yep.
this commission that they're having to pay out. So at the end of the day, as a seller's agent, you're not going to have the best interest of that buyer coming in.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that your seller gets the
Gets
most
the
amount of
most
money.
money.
Correct.
It's a firm offer. You don't want any inspections done.
And that's the shitty part
That's the
about for the
problem.
buyers, because they're going to go unrepresented. A lot of people, it's sad to say, a lot of buyers are uneducated on the legal documents and the procedures that need to happen to buy a house. What do I put in my Schedule A's? How do I better protect myself? The warranties and all of that stuff.
What are some of
They
the
could get
ways
taken
that
advantage
you
of.
protect your buyers when you're going in, putting an offer on a property? What are some of the things that you do?
My Schedule A does not change whatsoever. So there's always the two conditions or whatever it is, the financing, the home inspection, and then I have the represent and warranty. So I always have, that everything's a good working order. There's no known death, suicide, grow up, anything like that. I always have because it hasn't happened to me, but I've heard a story where it's, you always put the seller is responsible for property taxes up to the date of closing. Because if that isn't, and the buyer's lawyer doesn't do their job properly, and the properties are back paid, and the property is closed, it's the buyer's responsibility if it's not covered legally in the document. So there's so many clauses that need to be represented for the buyer that if you go unrepresented to the listing agent, it's not their fiduciary duty to put all those things in for you.
Yeah.
There's no way I'd be putting those things in for the buyer.
Right?
I mean, I would. I mean, if I was representing the buyer and my fiduciary duties were for the buyer,
for sure.
Why would I go above and beyond? I would just be providing customer service.
Yep.
But
that doesn't exist anymore.
Doesn't exist anymore in Canada. So technically a buyer needs to be represented. Can you represent a seller and a buyer as the listing agent in Canada?
You can GTA, have multiple representation, but
with the new documents, let's ask our broker of record.
Can you give fiduciary duties to both?
I think there's very specific, like you can't be able to like give them specific instructions about price. You can't guide them as you would like if you weren't representing both sides, to my knowledge.
Exactly.
So I think the market it's going to affect the most is first-time buyers, like people who are very uneducated, who are very new to the process. Whereas if you've bought and sold a house a couple times, you can fairly navigate it, and if you know your homework about the area, it is beneficial to still use a realtor. But a first-time buyer is someone that's not going to be able to afford to pay someone 2.5%, so they're likely the ones going directly to the listing agent, and you have so many shady listing agents out there that are going to try and screw them as they're operating in the best interest of their seller. So I think they're going to be impacted the most.
Okay, so that leads me to my next question. And this is going to be very intricate, okay?
Okay.
So let's just use round numbers, okay? A property is sold $1 million, right? In that $1 million, both agents get paid, right?
Correct.
In the commission normally, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So if the seller does not want to pay the buyer's agent. So now how does the buyer's agent get paid? If the buyer is pre-approved for, the $1 million or whatever, their mortgage is $800,000, do we then put the buyer's commission as a closing cost and then the lawyers deal with it and the lawyers then pay it out? So it's not like $1 million plus 2.5%. The buyer's commission is included into it. Then on the flip side, if all of these sellers are suing the NAR because of they think that the prices are inflated for commission, shouldn't the buyers then go sue the sellers, because technically the buyers are paying the seller's agent's commission in the price too?
Wait. That second part, the buyers are paying the seller agent's commission?
Yes. So shouldn't the seller then have a meeting with the seller's agent to say, I want to sell my house for X amount of dollars and I'm not paying the buyer's agent.
Yeah.
I'll pay you, but it's $1 million plus the commission, not including the commission. Because this whole time, if I have all these buyers buying all these properties in my real estate career, they've technically paid for the seller's agent's commission as well in the price of the home.
Because they're technically paying the price of the home.
But do you kind of get what I'm saying?
No, I don't.
You're saying it's the buyers that are
the buyers are paying all of the commission.
The sellers are paying their agent, the listing agent, for
selling the house. But it's in the price of the home that the buyer's paying for. So if the buyer buys a home for $1 million,
sure,
out of that $1 million, both agents are getting paid. So technically, the buyer is already paying.
No. Right now.
Yeah, right now.
Right now, yes, correct. Both agents are getting paid out of the $1 million,
right? Yes. So then if we go back, the buyer can say, well, I paid your agent as well. I paid my agent and I paid your agent out of the price that I paid. I'm paying $1 million. I'm putting $200,000 down.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, but
exactly.
At the end of the day, it's the seller's money, right? So it's the proceeds that
it's just
essentially if it's coming out of their sale.
Because the seller is negotiating that commission with the agent.
The agent,
so it's the seller's money. At the end of the day, the seller can give whatever he wants.
Exactly. The seller is saying this is the price of commission I would include in the price of the home, but the buyer is paying for the home.
You're right. However, the money is going to the seller, and the seller's deciding how much commission he's deciding to pay.
Exactly.
I mean, we could argue about this all day. I think it's both ways, but still, at the end of the day, the buyer's the one that's paying all this money because the buyer's paying for the house, and the buyer determines the price. Even though the seller says, "I want $1 million," if the seller gets $980, that's the price they get.
We can go right back to the fact that sellers can actually sell their homes on their own. They've been able to do this for a very long time.
100%.
However, they still choose to use realtors because there's a lot that goes into the sale of a home, especially in today's market. Lots of for sale by owners are very unsuccessful because even with the proper marketing, proper pricing strategy, all of that it's very hard to sell a home. So let's say let's just take it right back to there.
Okay.
If they really want to pay no commission to anybody, go sell your house by yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's the other way to do
what
it.
would you what would you do, or what would happen if buyers then went to the NAR, like the association, and said, I want to sell sellers because I think the prices are inflated because they think that they have to pay these commission prices? What's going to happen then?
Yeah, you're onto something. There'd be a whole
nother lawsuit.
But I agree that right now, like, or before, number one, commissions are always negotiable.
Yeah.
So yes, like, you know,
Yep.
there's discount agents out there. There's also mere posting brokerages where, you know, if you want to go sell a house on your own, there's brokerages that will, for a flat fee, put you on the MLS so you have the same amount of exposure. Yeah. People choose to use real estate agents for the convenience of it. If you're working full-time jobs, if you have a family, you don't want to not be able to navigate the whole sale. So there is benefits to using a realtor, but you're not tied to doing that.
Absolutely. There was this lawyer that I watch on TikTok. She's like very famous, and she's a real estate lawyer, and she does, you know, multiple closings a week, every day. And she was selling her home, and she used a realtor. She's like, there's a reason why I'm using a realtor.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of things that I do not want to do. There's the convenience of, there's so much that goes into a sale.
Yep.
So there is that side too. So
But that's the thing too with this lawsuit, and I believe the CBC had a news article that said, you know, it's not related to Canada, but it not solely, because there's so many different types of commission structures in Canada, but then they narrowed it down just to Toronto, and of course the average commission was huge because the Toronto prices are huge. But like you said, there's so many discount brokers. There's cashback brokers. There's the, you know, I'm not going to name names, but like you said, there's the flat fees where they just literally post pictures and put it on the MLS.
Yeah.
So
with their iPhone,
with
the top of a shower.
You can pay for what you get and exactly what you want.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
You can find someone to go sell your house for $500 if you really want to.
Yeah.
But if you're paying somebody $500 to sell your house, they're not trying to get you the most amount of money. They're realistically using a realtor. We're trying to make you way more money than you would even after paying out commissions, you're making more money.
Correct.
But I've dealt with, you know, potential clients, you know, and I've not wanted to work with these people too in the past because they want to go the discount route. And we, as the Fresh Approach, you know, we're not a discount team. We pride ourselves on the professionalism and the luxury marketing that we provide. Even if it's, you know, a $5 million home or a $500,000 condo, we provide the exact same service all around. And some agents or, you know, teams just they're discounts, and that's what some people want. They don't care about the services.
No, they don't.
They just.
Yeah, real estate is never going to be a simple transaction. There's so many emotions that go into it. There's all the different aspects that go into it. So sure, there's some things that can be streamlined with tech, but at the end of the day, you're never going to be able to take a lot of the different components out of a sale to completely go in a way where, you know, you get rid of commissions and all of those things.
But I think moving it up to Canada, because like Canada follows the States on a lot of things, if the lawsuit happens here, in my personal opinion, I think it might be a different outcome, because even like with the new rules and laws with TRESA, they've made it very clear as to what a consumer's rights are. Right? Like I said before, with the RICO guide and you having to explain all of these things to potential buyers and sellers, it kind of protects us in a way from that type of lawsuit, because we have to have those meetings. Mind you, there's, you know, 80,000 realtors in the Ontario, Toronto Real Estate Board. Yeah. Some of them probably don't do that, right? Don't explain the rights and stuff like that.
Correct.
So
I think
I don't know.
if Canada has the same kind of result, it's definitely going to wipe out a lot of the 80,000 realtors.
I think it will,
sure.
Because half of them didn't even do a transaction last year, and, you know, what was it, like 15% of them did less than 5?
At the end of the day, if this moves towards Canada, the people that are doing the most amount of work right now in the business, the ones that are out there working, they're going to be the ones that end up doing the most amount of transactions.
For sure.
Transactions won't decrease. Maybe, I mean, everything's speculative. Yeah. Things might, you know, change for a little bit, but then it's just going to go right to the people that are working the hardest.
Yeah.
AKA Ian, my boy Ian. And we also out there. I saw you door knock another day, letting everybody know that you sold $100,000 over asking.
You're door knocking a lot too, you.
I am.
You
Those
are.
are the best conversations.
Yep.
You're just people. The other day, this woman named Rabina invited me into her home. I was like, you don't even
Yeah,
know
I've had
who
that
I
happen
am.
before. They're like, she's like,
like, "Come on in."
I'm cooking pasta. Do you want to cut? And I'm like,
Yeah,
I gotta
yeah.
mix what's on my stove.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was like, I bought for high. I was like, it's okay. You bought to live in your house. You
Yeah.
didn't buy it to sell. She was
Yeah.
like, okay, you're right.
Yeah.
But you know what? If even the people that sold or bought really high in 2022, 2021,
Yeah.
if they're selling at a little bit of a loss right now, but they're choosing to move into something, there's no loss there.
Yep.
You're selling and you're also buying at the same price.
Yeah.
Depends
So-
though. Like
Well, it
some
depends
people
on
bought,
the price point.
Yeah, because some
Yeah.
people bought, you know, a lot more than what they could sell for today, and I've seen a couple of those sales. Like I've seen some as high as like 600,000 less than what they've purchased for,
Jeez.
which is tough.
But yeah, this is
But Alex,
it's a-
bringing in this NAR
Yeah,
conversation.
it's a huge conversation, but we have lots of rights. The buyer designation
Yeah.
agreement, that's the new one, right?
Oh, the designated,
the designated
yeah.
agency. I think that clears a lot of things up too, because you have to explain things to buyers and sellers. So I think as a whole, I don't know what, like, I know Vancouver is different. I know Calgary is different. Here, I think we have a lot of documentation in place to save us as realtors, because we have to do the explaining. So
There's a reason why these 5 sellers went
Yep.
to that injury lawyer, because they probably weren't serviced properly.
yeah.
They probably didn't
Yep.
even know what was going on. The agent probably didn't even put pictures up properly,
Yep.
do anything for them, and they
Yeah.
probably just were slapped with these commissions. At the end of the day, every single person that I've transacted with, or even the people that I know that are working the hardest, that, do have the higher commissions, their clients are usually raving fans.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They're thanking them, sending them referrals, saying, no. Actually, I tried to say this one time I was going to reduce my commission, and the client looked at me and was like, no. Are you kidding me? We want to pay you
Oh, that's
for
nice.
everything that you're going to be doing. So if
Yeah.
you're doing everything at the highest level, the end of a transaction, if your client's happy, they're not going to be worrying about that extra small amount that went towards.
I agree. If you service them at a high level,
Exactly.
you'll reap all the rewards as well. But it is very important at the end of the day to break it down for the buyers and sellers, because now that you guys are mentioning that, so Christy and I went on a listing appointment in Hamilton maybe like a month ago, and it was very old. I think she was like 85.
Yeah.
She's owned her house for like 65 years. Like she inherited it from her mom.
Yeah.
And we were the second. She was interviewing 3 agents, and we were the second. And she kept asking. She was like, "Will I have to pay the buyer's commission?" And once we broke it down, like we really wrote, and we were like, "This is the commission. Out of this, we take this portion, and then this portion is used to cooperate with the buyer's agent."
Yeah.
And she was like, "Okay, thank you."
Yep.
Because the first agent didn't break it down for her, and she was under the impression that the commission we were charging, she would have to pay us that amount, and she
On
would have to
top.
pay the exact same commission to the buyer's agent, so almost like double. And just like breaking it down for her, she appreciated that and she really understood. Whereas, if she were to only interview that one agent, the first one, and go directly with them, then I can see why it could be very misleading.
Yeah. Okay, so this is my last point about this topic.
Okay.
So if we explain to sellers, okay, this is what's going to happen when you're selling, right? You just said you break it down like that. We say when you buy your house, if you're going to sell and then buy, how would you like the commission to be paid when you're buying something? Would you want it structured into the purchase price, or would you want to pay on top of the purchase price? Right? And then so when you break it down on both sides for the seller, I think it becomes a lot easier just to say, the standard 4 to 5%, because that's what it is here, really. Honestly, Oakville is becoming 2% for buyers too, for buyer agents.
I've seen it. I've seen a mix of 2.5.
Yeah. 2 is like the standard now.
You're like deeply thinking about this, like it's about to happen in Canada today.
Well, I
It
mean,
is.
like,
It is going to happen
what
eventually,
happens-
though.
I do think so as well.
When the buyer agent becomes like non-existent and everything goes to the listing agent, I think it'll be a hell of a lot more stickier because you're doing the dual agency, right?
For sure. It's going to be, and you can't, I
So-
don't know if you mentioned this, but you can't, the banks are not going to finance buyer agents' commissions, which is why.
No, they're not going to finance it. No.
Which is why it's going to have to be paid outright. As a first-time buyer,
But it would be included in the closing costs that you would have to tally up at the lawyer's office if that was the case and the buyer had to pay.
Yeah.
So on closing, you would, instead of having to pay, X amount, you're paying X amount plus.
Correct.
because-
But as a first-time buyer, you know, you're putting most of your savings into the down
You're
payment.
just gonna go to listing.
There's going to be a very small amount of first-time buyers that are going to have the amount of money to put a down payment plus pay their buyer agents,
Absolutely.
whatever
Everyone's
that
gonna have to
commission
be a
looks
listing
like.
agent.
For sure, it's going to be.
But like you were saying, things have been put into place here in Canada where we have been explaining things properly.
Yep.
The documents are there. It's very transparent among most of the really good agents. Sure, there's some agents out there like the person that you went and met with.
Correct.
They weren't explaining things properly.
Yeah.
That's why just to get into real estate here in Canada now, here in
Yes.
Ontario, you have to go through like an intense.
Oh, it's not even that
Yeah.
intense.
Of course,
Anyone
you
can get
do.
their real estate license in
real-
Ontario.
I thought it was harder than my
Are you talking about the
molecular
Humber
biology.
one?
Did you do it at Humber?
I did it at Humber. It took me I did it in 6
I've
months,
heard
but
it's-
anyone can do it.
Oh, I did it
Anyone
back when
can
it was
do
like
but
Aurea.
I mean, you have to go through every little.
It's not hard to get.
Where did you
your
do
real
your
estate
license at
in
Humber too?
Ontario.
Okay, so yeah,
Yes.
I'm in the boonies or the
Aurea one.
the
Oh,
Aurea
yeah,
back
yeah.
in the day.
Yeah, I would say it's not challenging enough. I
No.
think part of the reason why that it's so easy is why there's 80,000 real estate agents in
Yep.
Ontario.
No.
But it's
That
just like
thing didn't
mortgage
exist
brokers.
Before in the last few, it just.
I
came
heard it
into-
was even easier with
It was
Aurea
way
than
easier
than
before.
it,
Do
than
you
it
know
is
how
with
easy it is
Humber.
to get your mortgage license?
literally you just write an exam tomorrow.
It's a course and you write an
Yeah.
exam but it teaches you nothing,
Oh, wow.
right? It teaches you stuff, but it doesn't teach you business. So,
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
learned way more from working with a good brokerage and working with a good team than I've learned doing
Shout
the real
out Jeff
estate
and
course. It didn't really
Christy.
teach you
I
much.
know,
the best
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
business.
they are.
Oh my God, have you guys heard about the 30-year amortization for new buyers?
Yeah, I think that's pointless.
Really?
Yes. So
Oh.
essentially,
Let's hear
yeah,
it.
the government introduced 30-year amortizations for first-time buyers, putting less than 20% down, which is nice, but it only applies on brand new properties, which for brand new properties, you know,
God.
9.9 times out of 10 builders
Yeah.
already
need the
have a
20%
20%
down.
deposit
Yeah.
structure built in. So I don't really think it does
Wow.
it does much in terms of any changes for
But what
first-time
first-time
buyers.
home buyer is going to say, you know what? I'm going to go straight for pre-construction. Most people go resale.
I find some people do because
but
of the deposit structure
yeah,
if
if
you
they
don't have
don't
all
have
the
the
money
money,
available. But like the 30-year, you're already getting a 30-year amortization
When
if
you
you're
put
putting
20
20% down. So
you can opt for
you
it.
can, yeah, you can
Yeah.
get,
So completely pointless.
in my opinion, yeah. Like I've never
Wow.
I've never seen a pre-construction project that
Yeah.
when it's all said and done requires you to put less
Yeah.
than 20%
Because
down.
with pre-con, the builders require the pre-approval letter to get the funding from the banks to start the construction, right? There's
Exactly,
like a whole loop
Yeah.
here. So,
Wow.
Hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
all these things that are being rolled out to help us.
Yeah,
But
it's
really-
like it's like all fluff because
Yeah.
like
It's all
it
news.
sounds great and everyone's like, yeah, this is great, but like because it's all headlines, right? Canada
Yeah.
introduces this, and like when you actually break
it's-
it down, it's like
it's the government.
is it really
I know we're not
beneficial?
supposed to talk about politics here, but it's the government
yeah.
putting news in the headlines to
Yeah.
say this is what we're helping first-time home buyers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, because when that news came out, there was a lot of people that were like, "Oh my gosh, look at this 30-year amortization."
But they don't read the
see
fine print.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's just for new construction.
exactly. So, wow, that was a fun conversation,
I
guys.
feel like that was like 5 minutes.
was
Oh my
solid, yeah.
gosh,
Jesus.
that was so fun talking about the NAR settlement.
Sorry, guys. I got really deep on it.
Amortization. No,
Yeah,
it's good.
it's
Honestly,
a good
it's
topic.
a conversation that we need to start thinking about,
Yep.
talking about, having
how it's
dialogue
gonna
around.
play
At
out,
the
yeah.
end of the day, everything is very speculative.
Yep.
So, we can have opinions of what we think's going to happen, where things are going. But
Yeah.
right now, even in the States, it's still kind of all up in the air up
Yeah.
until, everything rolls out.
Yeah.
But, I'm glad we talked about it. If
Yeah, it's a
people-
good topic. People need to know about this. Consumers need to know. They can't be hidden from this information.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing. We're just keeping it fresh out here.
keeping people updated.
Love it.
Yeah.
Good topic, guys.
Yeah,
good
that
talk.
was
Good talk.
Yeah.
All right, so
Catch you on the next one.
Yeah.
Any plans
oh my
after
god,
this?
guys, we forgot again.
What's
Okay,
that?
we have to start doing this. I feel
Oh,
we-
like, subscribe.
Yeah, like, subscribe, comment.
Okay,
ask
if
us
you
questions.
like the
5-star
way
rating.
Alex's hair looks today and Ian's fresh outfit
Yeah.
and all the things that we talked about,
Yeah.
subscribe, like,
us.
it helps us on the
Yeah.
algorithm.
Yep.
Rate us on
It helps
Spotify.
us on the algorithm.
I don't even know what the algorithm is. I don't
Yeah.
think anybody knows. But the first couple episodes did really well.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
well, that
we'll
was
see you on the
awesome.
next one.
Yeah,
Okay,
we'll see you on
guys.
the
Super
next one.
spiders.
All right,
All right.
I love you guys.